I'm Michael Weatherly.
I'm Cote DePablo.
And this is Off Duty. It's going to be my favorite thing to do with you.
I know. And what do you know? You're either watching or listening to our podcast Off Duty, where we explore the greatest show there ever was. NCIS.
Oh, my God. Oh, NCIS. Right. No, that one. Sorry.
That's right. It's because we're diving into part one of the most iconic episodes in NCIS's 20-year history, Kill Ari Part 1.
I say Kill Ari.
Yeah. You're
Kill
like
Ari.
Mark. Kill Ari or Ari. That's going to become like a fan thing.
Sorry, Ari.
Welcome to Off Duty, an NCIS Rewatch podcast. This week on the show, we're talking Season 3, Episode 1, Kill Ari, Part 1. The gang mourns the death of Kate. They recall her and deal with her death. Ari puts a round into Abby's lab, and the NCIS gets a new director who shares a history with Gibbs. And Ducky accepts an invitation to an unusual meeting.
We have a very special guest today as well, but before we get into that,
Oh, yes.
let's go back 19 years back in time to the day this episode's release and look what was going on.
Okay. And this section is the context section.
For context.
Okay. And so we are going to basically, this is what happened on the day in
September
history.
20th, by the way.
Okay. September 20th, what year?
2005.
So
It
this
was a good year.
This is when Kill Ari
Kill Ari.
aired. Okay.
Tomatoes.
Tell me a couple of things that happened.
Gold Digger by Kanye West and Jamie Foxx was number one on the USA pop charts. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
That was a good song. The movie Just Like Heaven, starring Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo, was at the top of the box office.
That says a lot.
That was a long time ago.
Oh no, I was just saying because I don't remember it
Mark
at all.
Ruffalo. I just saw him on Broadway. He was terrific.
He's so good.
Hurricane Rita intensified into a Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. It became the third largest and most intense hurricane ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. Evacuations were initiated along the U.S. Gulf Coast as the storm threatened Texas and Louisiana. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, sure. Rita. Lovely Rita.
I remember the name, but I don't remember, I guess, maybe it's because I'm from
Well, there were
Florida.
so
So many hurricanes. That's what I'm trying to say.
I feel like maybe it was a slow news day. And Just Like Heaven with Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo is newsworthy. You're like, slim pickings. All right.
Do you know what this episode's about?
Oh, this is the episode where, okay, give me the synopsis and then I want to dig in.
All right. As the NCIS team struggles to cope with Kate Todd's death at the hands of double agent Ari
Aswari. Ari
Gibbs
Aswari.
becomes fixated on avenging Kate by doing the only thing possible, killing Ari.
Part 1. I have further dissection of this.
Go. Yeah.
Because you weren't there yet. At the end of season 2, we're on the rooftop. And we're in the middle of this huge gun battle. We're trying to stop this missile that's flying in that's going to destroy some city. I don't know which city, but it's a city. And we're all up on the roof, and a shooter comes out of the building and is going to shoot Gibbs. And Kate Todd jumps in front of the shooter, saves Gibbs' life, and falls to the ground. And DiNozzo goes running over and he's like, oh my God, are you all right? She was wearing a bulletproof vest. And we help her up. And I'm like, well, you would have missed your yoga class or whatever. And she's about to do some pithy quip reply. And I'm standing behind her. And all of a sudden, boom, she gets shot in the head.
You did good. For once, DiNozzo's right.
Wow. I thought I'd die before I ever heard comedy.
It's such
No
a fantastic...
one sees it coming.
No one sees it coming, and it's such a fantastic and shocking death. Probably the best one we've had at NCIS.
It set the table for a summer of reruns because what happened, I think, when the finale aired in May of 2005, people were like, I was in Jamaica with a bunch of my friends, and I made them watch the episode. None of them watched NCIS. They're like, Weatherly, we can't watch you on television. It's too ridiculous. But
we've got you here. It's enough.
I made them all, well, they might have smoked a joint, but I made them all watch. And by the way, what a good episode to watch a little bit. I made them all sit around, and I was like, I promise you, this is good. Because I knew the ending. And I have to say, blew them away. And then that whole summer, our ratings were going like this in reruns because people water coolered that episode. This is before streaming and before it wasn't out. Like you could only watch it in reruns. That rerun aired at the end of the summer before we went, the week before Kill Ari Part 1 and Part 2 aired, September 20th. We had an audience that wanted to know
what happened.
What just happened?
It was such a great cliffhanger.
And during that summer, your life changed because you were cast.
I was cast.
To come in.
But remember, I was cast as a guest actor. So I was cast as an arc. I mean, I thought, of course, it was a series regular part because because I signed a contract. But then they sort of like covered their butts and they were like, well, I mean, we have to kind of test
option.
you, Well, it's maybe, we're going to give you an arc and then we're going to see.
6 years.
But I remember signing 6 years and I was like, what? What in the what? I was like, that's a lifetime. Well.
And as we have already discussed, we had our little screen test. But then we started, we had already shot the first, we shot the third episode first. And then the Kill Aris were next.
The Kill Aris.
So the first Kill Ari, where you come in and slouch suggestively, where we are not sure if Rudolph Martin is your, Ari Haswari is your lover or your coworker or, it turns out, half-brother, family member.
Family, for sure.
So we are introduced to Ziva David. We are introduced to Lauren Holly as the new director.
What a great dynamic those two had. I remember looking at the shows. Yeah, the flashbacks,
they
the
had
whole Paris thing.
They
had Paris and... they had this really funny banter between them. And I know we've talked about this before, but I love that little twinkle in Gibbs' eyes. I love seeing him as a father, which we explore a lot during the show, the parental figure and all of that. But I love seeing sort of like the man, like the part of Gibbs that you don't get to see often, which is the sort of silly, sexy, flirty. He flirts in a very distinct way.
There won't be any off-the-job, Agent Gibbs.
That's too bad. I missed you, Jen.
Don't make this difficult, Jethro.
Wow, that guy.
It always makes me a little uncomfortable.
No, I actually
I keep seeing Ted Bundy.
Pleasantly surprising to me because after 19 years now, in which those aired 19 years ago. So I was watching them and I thought, wow, first of all, how cool. Those scenes between Lauren and Mark were fantastic. And then I thought, he was flirty in his own way.
Yeah.
Did
you do the swimming in the episode?
I did do the swimming, yeah.
You're a good swimmer.
Well, actually, you know what? Technically, I'm not very good. I mean, I swim, but I remember thinking like, I'm not gonna do this like a professional. And then I thought, well, maybe she's not a professional.
Remember they had an underwater camera?
Yes.
Because it was in the opening title sequence.
Yes.
We get to see you swimming. We have our very special guest.
We do.
And I mean,
You're nervous.
I'm a little nervous because we're going down memory lane. We're getting in the Wayback Machine and we are going to have a lot of feelings. We're going to explore things. We're going to talk about like the hardest parts of coming onto the show for you,
sure.
How your life changes. The hardest.
But also, we'll talk about the really funny bits too.
Remember when I was running away from you in Autopsy, and as I was running, I farted?
Oh God, Michael, that's a memory that we should definitely explore in the future.
And then they put it in an episode where you and I are sitting in the car together, and and it was like, "Do you smell that?" And you were like, "Smell what?" And I go,
"Oh." That was a funny bit. And I remember having to punch you in the, I punched you in the shoulder.
Wilshire Boulevard. We shot that down on Wilshire. So can we do it? Can we bring our very special guest and introduce her?
Sure.
Them?
Sure.
Okay.
Without further ado, Miss Sasha Alexander.
Who the hell are you people? You're no ME assistant. And there's not a soft-shell crab within 1,000 miles. What is this, Victorian England? What, the men with their cigars and brandy while the ladies sip tea in another room? Like some species of frogs, I grow what I need. He's a criminal, Tony. And you have a man crush on him.
You okay?
Just got shot at point-blank range, DiNozzo. What do you think?
Well, question.
Yeah.
How did you get started?
Well,
Can
we just say welcome to Sasha?
Well, I mean, we've been sort of,
guys.
hi guys. Let's do it the
Okay.
formal way. We've
I'm
been
just
sort
saying.
of.
Well, the people at home are like, we gotta.
Well, what you guys don't know is that we saw Sasha in the hallway. We gave her many kisses, many hugs,
Lots
and then
of
we sat
hugs.
down and we couldn't wait to talk to
Can
her.
we
But then
show Sasha how we start the show, though?
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I'm Michael Weatherly,
I'm Cote DePablo.
and this is Off Duty.
Sasha, anyway, how did you start acting?
First of all, I'm really happy to see you guys, by the way. It's been too long. It's been too long, Cody.
Oh, my God.
This guy, I've seen that face for years, but and we got to work together last
then
year.
we did.
But I am happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too. And I will give a little anecdote about Sasha. Me entering NCIS, which is such a cool bit. It's like such a woman beat in life. And I will take that, but I will say that at the end because it's like a nugget of love that you threw at me, and it was a really wonderful moment. But I'll say that
Thank you.
for the very end
okay,
of
good.
us.
I hope so, because it's as you were just saying, like we kind of go through these things in this business, and it's like, right?
Yeah.
It's like
so. What's the journey? Like, let's begin.
Begin at the beginning. How did you start?
Like,
Well,
and Dobrila was like, but
Dobrila is my mother.
Yes.
And Michael knows her name.
Yes.
That's by the way,
Yeah.
it's so nice that you know Dobrila. You
well,
pronounce
she
Dobrila's
is
name
such
correctly.
an awesome.
What's her name? Dobrila?
Dobrila.
Dobrila.
Dobrila. Yeah, you said it perfect.
And
Dobrila.
guess where
Dobrila.
she's from.
Serbia.
Yes.
Yes. I know
And
this.
guess where Dom Belisario's mother was from?
Serbia. Yes. Oh, so there's a connection.
Yeah.
Oh
We didn't
yeah,
know- I mean,
Virgos and Serbs. These are the people in my life.
Taurus here, but yes,
Yes.
close enough.
You have to you cover the
Taurus.
Serb. I want like your 18-year-old Sasha.
Yeah.
You're getting ready to go to college.
Yep.
Is it true you were in a show as a dancer? Were you a fly girl?
Yeah, I was the first fly girl. I
mean-
did the first it was the first before they did the show, they did like a pilot and they were just testing it out. But I danced with the people who put that all together. But I was 16. I wasn't allowed to leave school. So I didn't get to go do it when it went. But
Did you meet
all
J-Lo
that
there at all, or no?
I didn't. She was there after.
Oh.
But she was there. And I think she came in the second season. She wasn't even there right in the beginning, I don't think. But yeah, that whole group, Debbie
16?
Allen. Yeah, I was 16. My parents were like, you're not leaving school to do that.
Right.
So I think I knew that dancing wasn't something I was going to go be a rockette or open a dance studio. I just knew it was a way of performing, and I loved theater. I did theater.
Was USC Film School about acting or
No.
about what was it about?
So I think that when I after high school, I just really thought that I wasn't attracted to the acting profession as a profession because I felt like the rejection and all of the just waiting around for somebody to give you a job and they decide if you're good enough. None of that was appealing to me. It's
No.
still not appealing to me. I think it sucks. And it was really something as a tourist. I was like, I can't. I need to know what's on the
I'm
on
like,
the plan.
the
I need
stability. Give me stability.
Give me stability. And I
Yes.
did not have parents that like understood it at all. And as immigrant parents, they were just like, be a lawyer. What are you doing? What do you mean? So they didn't understand that part of me that was like crying to express myself in a different way. They did not, they didn't get it. It was like a little hobby for me. They did not understand that. And so I knew that I wanted to tell stories. I knew I was attracted to film, to television. Those are the things that formed me. And I thought, how do you do that? So it was like, USC, I'm going to film school. And so I went there. It was an extraordinary experience. I, came out in class. Brian Johnson was a classmate and some of my Eric Kripke, all these like awesome people, Anthony Mandler. Like we came out, we had the greatest time. And then no one was going to hire a 21-year-old female director. And
So you went for directing.
I went for directing. So I went for
didn't know
production.
that.
Yeah. So I went for production, which is directing, producing, editing. You learn everything, but I really wanted to learn directing. But I also love producing. Like as you know me, like I love bringing people together. I love hashing an idea and all of a sudden sitting around and figuring out how to get that made. I naturally lean towards producing. Even when we were shooting on NCIS, very early on, I was like sitting there trying to option a book and figure out how to make that. Like my mind was always going
I
to...
remember doing, filming you for an audition for something, for maybe a hiatus between 1 and 2 or something. And we were in the squadron over by the elevator, and it was during our lunch break or whatever. And I was filming an audition for you, and I was like, you're so motivated to do that. And I remember that I went back to my trailer and I called my agent and I'm like, should I be auditioning for things? Because my trailer mate, by the way, we were trailer mates.
We were trailer mates.
I mean...
Which, by the way, we have to talk about that, about how well you get to know each other when you work on a series like this. Like, really?
Yeah.
You get to know so much about people, and that leads to amazing friendships like we all have.
Lifelong.
And deep frustration.
Lifelong. Or deep frustration, or I never want to see that person again. I never,
There's a few of those.
But by the way, like the weird thing is, Sasha and I worked, I think, 1 or 2 days together, and then I don't think I ever saw you again.
No.
And the weird thing is, if I bumped into you at the street, we would have hours to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like nonstop because we shared something that is so insular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is such
it's like
a
being on
defining moment in life that not a lot of people got to experience.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it's that particular set, that particular show.
Yeah.
You know, that particular group of people. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a really kind of weird thing. It's like, you were in that planet.
Yeah.
Tell
You're
me
on
about
that
it. What
planet.
did you
That's
eat?
exactly right.
You know, how did
You're
you
on
survive?
that planet.
You know, did you go and swim in the water? Like, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. And
Tell
so,
the story about when you first met Sasha.
oh, this is such a great story. And I'm not sure if you remember, but I was coming in from New York, and you were on your way out, you know? And so we were literally crossing. I was entering, you were leaving.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, whatever the choices were, they must be challenging. And I know that I was also going into this unknown, and that had its own.
And you were
set of-
young. How old were you when you entered?
I was young.
Like,
you know, like mid-20s.
Yeah.
And so, but we were crossing. And I remember at one point I was just standing outside my trailer, sitting down, you know, just kind of waiting. And you came up to me and you got very close to me. And you touched my face in a very endearing way. And you looked into my eyes and you said, "Be strong." And you said, "If I have one thing to tell you is be strong." But you said it in such a loving way that there was no way it could be perceived, especially by someone like me, as anything other than like, oh, take this as what it is. It's a loving way of reminding you whenever you feel like things are just like center. And then you said something that was really clever. You said, put your money away and at some point maybe buy a house.
You came chock full of advice.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were very clear. And I remember, and by the way, that was the first time and probably the last time I saw you in many years, because then I was, you know, the vortex.
Yeah,
just
the vortex.
went in,
Moon-based
you know what I
alpha.
mean?
Yeah.
And,
Vortex.
And then I remember thinking like, I didn't have a lot of exchanges with Sasha, but I do remember the episodes, those last episodes, Kill Ari 1 and 2, they were some of my favorite NCIS episodes ever. You were such a big part of them. You were so good.
Thank you.
And also you were so sweet to me. And so I thank you for that because you were such a girl's girl.
Oh, well, you don't have to thank me. You know what? I think that probably in that moment, I just saw a young person that was coming in the same way I came in a couple of years prior. And I had done a few shows before NCIS, but none as challenging.
And to be fair, you were a part
of
of the beginning, and those hours were. I mean, we had challenging hours, but you guys did the hard.
But NCIS was like, you just did, it was like that card game 52 pickup, and you're like, oh, I've never played that. And it's where you just throw all the cards in the air.
Yeah.
And now you have to pick them all up.
Yeah.
That's the game. And you're like, that's not a game. That's just a mess. It's like, yes.
But I'll say, I mean, the two things that I feel like in the very beginnings, like just being there from the beginning of that, I feel like if you look at the first episode I did, whatever, the first Air Force One.
Oh, yeah.
Which Dawn directed.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like that was more Jim Cameron-y in the sense. The way he directed was very thought out. And you guys have worked on, so you know, like, it was more thought out. But then slowly, I think the schedule and also Billy Webb being who he is and then wanting to kind of, we didn't have full scripts early on.
Oh, yeah.
We had acts.
I
So
heard
we
about that.
didn't
And then
know-
the pages would come in and you guys would have to kind of deliver as
and on one hand, as an actor, it was great because we didn't know where it was going. So we were truthful to that moment.
Oh my God. And sometimes the person they would cast somebody as a day player and then 4 days later they're like, oh, they're the bad guy. Let's get them back.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to go back to a location that you'd
Yeah.
already wrapped out.
Right.
And this, that's how production
Right.
grows into a thing. And also, sometimes the confession of the killer in the fourth act is someone was a day player who'd never really acted before.
Right.
And I remember once you and I were working with this actress and she was like, she had a huge confessional monologue and we were with her and rehearsing it with her. And she's
Yeah.
like, couldn't get there on the emotion.
Yeah.
And it was
I
like,
remember that.
just tell the truth. It's okay. And you and I are looking at each other like,
Yeah, but the other thing too is I remember us when we would get used to this style of filmmaking where Billy would just sort of come in and out and you were just doing the scene, or oftentimes they did a lot of the 360s, right? And we'd be always standing and they would just be going. You get used to not paying attention to the camera, but often guest stars would come in and it would freak them out.
Yeah.
Not often. Every episode, they would
Well,
get
it's
freaked
intimidating.
out. It's intimidating.
It's very
and you're
bizarre.
you don't know it, and you're sort of, you have your lines, you don't have a lot of rehearsal, so they would jump in, and inevitably they would freeze or mess up their line or start doing this. So Michael and I decided that we would tell them, we would warn them ahead of time that this is what's going to happen. And so, you should just know, don't pay attention to it. Stay with us in the scene
Right.
and don't worry
Don't
about
stop.
it. Don't stop.
Oh, that's a nice thing to do.
And yeah, and we did. We would just go and say, just so you know, this is how they film, this is what they do, and just like,
but it's a high wire with no net. When you do, but it makes you so much more alive and alert in the scene.
And do you think that helped?
I think that they were often very grateful. Most of the time, they
But I
were
think it
extremely
also
grateful
made-
that we told them, and that at least they were like, "Oh, okay." Doesn't mean it always worked. We've definitely had people that and I'm sure you did over all the years, but there's definitely people that come in and they get intimidated by the moment and they freeze up or whatever.
Sure.
Do you remember the time on the helicopter when we had those helmets and the things, and we were not a helicopter, we were on a plane.
Yes.
And there was an actor, and he just froze. He
Yes,
literally.
he had to bring coffee.
Oh my
God,
gosh, it was so hard,
it was
and I
hard.
felt so bad because
Yeah.
being a guest star is so
I've been there.
hard.
I have
It's
had
so
that.
And
I
if
was
you're
a magician.
rushed in that
It's so
moment,
hard.
right? If you're rushed and you have to
And
like
it's not
get-
your family and you're going in and
No,
you're like
it's so hard.
it's so hard.
Oh yeah,
It's so hard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but that's where you can turn that lemon into a lemonade. You can take that person, and you can either say like, "Is everything all right?" And they're like, "Huh?" It's like, what were you gonna do? You got some coffee, and you just make the scene about like maybe that guy's a red herring now. Maybe that's not like a frozen actor.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a plot point.
Right.
And like if somebody, when we were in the squad room, like if McGee couldn't remember Mr. Sivapada Sundaram's name, and he's like, boss, it looks like the petty officer couldn't have been at Mr. And I would be there and I would just go, Sivapada Sundaram?
Right.
And he'd be like, and so rather than have to go back and start the scene over, it's now a new dynamic.
Totally.
Where you're correcting or
And then
yeah.
it might not even make sense because Tony shouldn't know what Mr. Sivapada Sundaram's name is, but who
But
cares?
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like that's the greatest memories I have, and I think we have on any job that we work on, but like those moments that you create with your fellow actors, whether, whatever that is, I think those are the moments that create the depth and character and the layers of characters that you want to watch every week in television. And it's such a different skill set than doing like a movie where you have your beginning, your middle, and an end, and you know where it's going. But in television, like all those, the tissue that holds us all together all the time, I find very valuable. And Belisario is a genius for this because in the beginning, he listened. He really watched and listened what we did. He
Yes.
watched and listened to us, bantering in between things, and he left it in the show. Like a lot of people wouldn't have done that. I've done pilots and worked on shows where like if you change an and or a the, they get really pissy about it. And they're like, it should be this. And you're like, yeah, but it's not coming out of my mouth naturally, or it's not. So I think that you have to give it space to breathe. And he gave it space to breathe. And I think even though sometimes we didn't know where it was going, even by him looking at the dailies to see all the players he cast that week and to sort of go, which is the one that is the least likely you're going to suspect is the killer.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he'd tell you what it is. And that, it just worked. So it was a formula that obviously has been massively successful and works. But it is an interesting thing as an actor, because I think that for us, it's not always satisfying to not be able to build those moments in knowing where they're going.
Question.
So that
For you,
tough,
for
right?
you, those 2 years at NCIS, would you say it is safe to say that you lost balance as far as like professional life, personal life? Did you have any life
Work-life
outside
balance.
of work?
No.
No one did.
Did
No one
that
did.
inform the choices you made after you left NCIS?
Yeah, it did. It did. I mean, I think before NCIS, the shows that I did somehow had more of a balance. Like, they were either true ensembles, but if you are, in this particular case, I mean, normally if you're like a one or two, like Rizzoli and Isles, I worked all the time, but there were moments where we could throw the ball back and forth to each other. NCIS, Mark and Michael and I, and you later, were in every single scene.
Yeah, but in the beginning,
Yeah.
in the beginning of the beginning, like because the scripts were not done, and so you you and me would follow Gibbs into some in the first act. We would be in the squad room, grab your gear, and then we go and talk to some admiral. And you and I would sit in the office and talk to the admiral. Then we go into the parking lot and go like, "What do you think the admiral had to?" It's like, and then suddenly the AD would be like, "This is the next scene you're shooting." And we're like, "Okay, now the three of us are going to go talk to someone else." It's like, is this what they would do? Because wouldn't they break up? And it was like Scooby Doo. It's like, why the
It was
three of us?
Scooby-Doo. You always said that, and it's totally true. It was Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
But like, because in reality, we would split up. You would investigate what you were doing.
Right.
You would investigate, and then we would
Right.
get together and go, "Here's what I found. Let's collate this information and
Right.
see what we can synthesize."
And he didn't do that.
No,
Synthesize.
we all went to the same. We all sat and looked at with three of us at the suspect. We think you're the bad guy. Let's go get more information from that guy. What about you?
I remember having to say cooperate. Cooperate?
Oh, collaborate.
It's not collaborate.
Oh.
What's the other one? Can you
Corroborate?
Corroborate.
corroborate? I can't say that. I don't have a list, but I do have a little bit of a tongue tie, and I do think that
Corroborate.
word was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
are
once-
you kidding me? Well, there are so many huge words that I'm like, relax.
And then when you get at the shooting style of going quickly, and you know that word's coming up, you're like, just get it out, so you don't mess
You're
it
like
up.
Roger's
Mess
thesaurus.
up
You're
the
like,
kick.
what is a synonym for corroborate?
Corroborate.
No, I know. And
Corroborate.
that was
I said that word a lot on that
Yes,
show.
You got really good at it.
Well, I think that
Corroborate. I don't know.
Don saw that you didn't like saying it. He's like, we will have lots of corroborate.
We will lots of corroborate.
A lot of the time, you do not have the luxury of time.
No, you don't.
You know, so it's not like all of a sudden you're working with a director who's like, "Don't worry about it. Whenever you're ready, you let us know."
Yeah,
It's like,
no,
no,
not
no,
at
no.
all.
Did
You're
you
not.
find-
You're not. The director's not waiting for you to get that. It's up to you to deliver, and you need to deliver now.
Did you find stuff doing like our first couple? Because we were finding things. Like we had to, you have your techniques and you have your things that you can rely on and you have your understanding of the script and the character and the thing. But then there's this mystery quotient, right? There's that it factor of, which is why the show caught, fire. Was there like stuff that you found?
So in Air Force One, and I think we all as actors do this, like you do all your prep work and you're like, you have some idea of what that's going to be. And I was working on the lines and the everything, but I didn't quite know. But the thing I did know, because when I had met with Dawn about the role and we had just had a meeting, I did know that there was a like a fighter, like in your face kind of, young woman at the time in her 20s who's a Secret Service agent. And my big question was like, how does this, person my size fight naval officers and bad guys? So I went to like a government training. I don't know if you did that. I did like a training camp. They sent me to learn to shoot and do all this tactical stuff, and it really was super helpful. I didn't like the guns, but it was really super helpful.
I didn't like the guns either.
I don't like the guns, and it really freaked me out how like powerful and scary, the whole thing. And it took me a long time on NCIS. I learned how not to blink when you're shooting.
Right.
Like that wasn't easy.
I still
We
blink.
always say it's almost
It's
impossible.
really hard.
It's almost
when
impossible.
you
It's impossible
when you
not
got
to
that shot to the head,
Yeah.
I was standing behind you.
Oh my God.
And if you watch the scene in slow motion, this is a little Easter egg for the people at home. If you watch just before the dot appears that they digitally put there, but there's a blood pack on the back of your head that Larry Fuentes or whoever
it went out,
exploded, and blood goes all over
Yeah.
my face. But Larry was in front of
you were
me, so I flinch right before the blood
No
hits.
way.
Right before the dot.
That's so funny.
So I'm flinching before you get killed.
Before I get killed.
Aw.
Oh,
I thought I'd die before I ever hit comedy.
In North by Northwest, when the gunshot goes off at the end, when they're at Mount Rushmore, there's a little girl in the scene, and she puts her fingers in her ears right before the gunshot because they'd done it a few times, and she knew that was the
that was it. And
so the child actor.
that's so.
It's a great Easter egg.
That's
Yeah.
really
Cute.
funny.
That's a cute little
Well,
thing.
I'll tell you. So after NCIS, I learned so much about what it really means to be on a series, and really learn the commitment, everything about it. And
How much time did you take off?
I didn't, because I went right into another CBS show, but
Okay.
it didn't go. So it was like I worked. I wasn't sure what kind of a series I would like to do next. I loved comedy. So there's different kinds of shows, and I went to do some movies. So I worked, but they were more short-term stuff instead of this like banging out 24 episodes a year, which is a really
So
hard
the universe was
gig.
giving you a little time off.
Yeah, I think I was more just exploring what else was there. I mean, as an artist, we're all sort of going, oh, what else can I do? What else is out there? And then I had my daughter, and she was about 2 years old. And then Rizzoli and I was at the end of the year, and I read the script, and I just loved this character. And so the thing about that was it was 10 episodes, and it was on cable.
Fantastic.
And so to me, that felt like a perfect gig, right? You can go and like really do it hard for 4 months or 5 months, and then you have some time, off. And that's what it was the first season. So, and the difference there
Did
was
you
that
feel that difference? Were you like, oh my
Huge.
gosh, this is huge. This is
huge,
okay, great.
huge, huge, huge.
And a coroner. So you learned from Ducky.
So I learned from Ducky. I did learn from Ducky. And I
Cheers
also
to David
learned,
McCallum.
Yes. Oh,
The
dear
duck man.
David. Dear David. Oh, my gosh. He
Remember
was so
when-
naughty. He
remember
was
when-
so inappropriate.
So-
You know what, David? You were really inappropriate.
How about
in the
when-
best way.
how
But
about
oh,
when he
my
brought
gosh.
the-
Wasn't he?
He brought the
At times he
painting
could
back.
be.
He could be.
He brought the painting that you had like given him a gift of like a picture.
And he didn't like it.
And he didn't like it, so he just brought it back to your trailer. He was like, I won't have it. I won't
He's
have
like,
it.
yeah, I don't
I don't
like
know what
it.
to do with this.
He didn't like it.
By the way, when I heard the story, I thought how brilliantly refreshing to have that level of honesty.
It's true.
That he just really doesn't care. So you're not having somebody go like, oh, thank you so much. I've always been taught to go, oh, thank you so much. And then you give it away or you whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
that is the polite thing to do.
I
Come
get
on,
it.
Cody. I mean, we
look,
were raised a certain way.
I get
David
it.
had a,
we are
you know,
talking about something that I don't think I could do, but in another universal part of me that lives up, that is not me.
Which part is
There's-
this?
I don't know, but it's something that goes
some
like
universal
this.
part. It's a parakeet.
It's
in
a
her
parakeet.
head.
It's something
It's a
like,
porky
it's
swine.
not even a part. It's a porky. It's a porky. The porky swine. But anyway, so but I guess what I'm saying is that I guess I admire it a little bit because it is so honest.
Oh, I
guess
totally
I
agree.
would laugh. If somebody said that to me, I'd be like, "Oh my god,
Okay,
you're so honest."
can I tell you a story? And it has to do with Ari.
Rudolph Martin.
Rudolph Martin. So this is
Oh.
this is a similar story. You might remember the story, but I don't know if you remember the story. So Rudolph Martin had a girlfriend, okay, and we were all working together, and she came to set one day. Lovely woman, and he was really excited. He wanted to introduce me.
And he had his little dog Comet.
And he
His
had
little
Comet,
dog,
his little dog. And Rudolph
Tiny
was
little
lovely,
chihuahua.
lovely. I mean, he did he did break my nose, but when we did this one stunt and one of the first things, no, he broke my nose and they had to put it back. God. But he didn't break it, but he bruised me really hard. But I thought it was broken. He had never done like a fight thing and he had to turn around and stop my hand. And as he grabbed it, he missed and his fist just went straight up. And I was like, oh.
That's painful too. The nose.
It was super painful. That had never happened before.
I don't like violence.
Stunts on these shows are quite,
are you kidding me?
So anyway, it was lunchtime and he said, Sasha, please come over. I want you to meet my girlfriend. She's here for lunch. So I go to sit down. I meet her. I don't remember her name. She asks me like a question and I start to answer the question. Maybe it's like something simple. Like, where are you from? Or how's your day going? Well, we did this morning, and she goes, yeah, I don't really want to hear it. I'm not interested. No, she goes, I'm not interested in hearing it. I'm not interested in hearing the story. I'm not interested in hearing
polite,
it.
but then I'm not going to be polite, kind of?
Yes.
Like, it's the right thing to do, but then I don't want to.
I was so confused. And I looked at her and I go, I'm sorry?
Is it a joke?
And she goes, no, I'm not interested in hearing the story. Like, as I was about to tell the story, she said, I'm not really interested in hearing it.
We've got to get her on this podcast.
Full David McCall. She just was like, she didn't want to hear. She wasn't mean about it. And I turned to Rudolph and I was like, and he kind of went, had this kind of look of like, well,
Did he kind of turn to you and go, I love her?
Yeah, she's exactly. I love her.
I love her so much.
I love her.
I had
so
never had, besides David and this woman, I had never had somebody say, I'm not interested in hearing it. I don't like your painting. And I'm not interested in hearing your story.
You laughed at that moment because
Why?
Because I can't even talk.
Why?
I'm so stuck. I can't breathe anymore. I need a break, guys. I'm dying.
Oh no.
I'm dying. I gotta look at this.
Do you have a
Flonase?
Mucinex?
Wait, no, I'm gonna go get them.
She's going to go get the Flonase.
Yeah, go.
Anthony,
Mucinex.
Antonio Banderas do that? Nasonex. Didn't he do the voiceover for Nasonex?
Now you're really good.
Yeah, I know.
No,
But
I'm
wait,
telling
why are you
I
laughing
think
so
it was-
hard? Why are you laughing so hard just about this story? Because of
No,
what?
'cause-
Because I love.
Well, let me sit. Let me just go back. No, I don't know why. There are moments that I catch myself, and we'll be in the middle of like talking to somebody, and I think you and I have worked together for so many years. And if you start laughing at something I say, it just immediately lights me up, and I start laughing, and I don't know why that
No,
is.
I know. And then it all
And
goes
it
sideways.
just goes sideways.
It all goes sideways.
Yeah.
But by the way, I think it used to happen on set too, in the
used
middle
to
of a
happen
take.
so much. Well,
it was awful.
So
and
yeah.
wonderful.
But we
But
used
it
to
was
have the
awful.
same thing go. Like when we got on a laughing jag.
Oh my gosh.
And then especially
Oh my
when you're
gosh.
punchy and it's late.
Oh
and then,
my gosh.
And then certain other fellow cast members would not be so amused at our.
They did not. We
They
were
did-
like toddlers.
Right.
Or directors. Like
Or
we
directors,
had, remember
right.
it was like Tom Wright. He was like, for cut it out, And,
Oh, my
and that would
gosh.
make it worse.
No,
Oh my
no.
gosh.
It was just,
Yeah.
Okay, go take your break. Go take your
yeah,
break.
thank you. I just need to like blow my nose and put some.
That is so funny.
So while Cody's out of the room, I'm going to say,
Yes.
and now the work-life balance thing that we
Yeah.
will get into when Cote
Yeah.
comes back in. But Cody's kind of heard me talk about this a little bit, but when you were directing Bull,
Mm-hmm.
which was very awesome for me to see you in that capacity, and
Thank you for having me.
you
I had such a great time.
nailed it. And we had so much fun. And everyone on set was like, oh my God, this feels so different because you and I were in a flow and
Yeah.
we were having, and it was a tough show. It had it had its problems because, and I've said this about Bull in other places, but it didn't have the DNA of something like NCIS. It didn't have that family character structure, those archetypes that you could see. You kind of couldn't imagine any of the characters outside of work, like Chunk or any of these. Like it was hard to really build a life around them. Mm-hmm. The family dynamic inside the characters of NCIS really did build story after story after story. So the plot didn't really matter. The plot was so important to Bull. But NCIS, you'd finish an episode, you'd be like, I don't really know what happened, but I want to watch that one again because it was
Yeah.
super fun.
Isn't that interesting?
But you brought fun
Thank you.
and preparation, and you were such a total pro on the set. And I just know that you and I had so much fun when Sasha was directing Bull. But I was falling apart. Speaking of falling apart, but this was not. I was no longer saying, "Get out of the way, I'm crashing." The pilots were dead in the cockpit. Everyone had oxygen masks on. There was a hole in the airplane. I mean, it was like, oh no, there's no safe crash. Like we're going into the ocean at terminal velocity. I was falling apart, but I was falling apart, and I know that you saw that, and that I had sort of lost a step in terms of like being able to, juggle, because it had been 22 years of nonstop 1 hour drama television, 500 episodes.
I don't know how you've done it.
From Dark Angel to NCIS to Bull with no break.
Yeah.
And so even directing, which I love doing as well. And I was talking to Brian Dietzen about this. Brian Dietzen's like, I have no interest in directing. He's like, I love writing. He wants to write the script and form. I'm not good at writing. Yeah. But once it's written, so talk to me a little bit about like, because you've been directing stuff. What's that like? What buckets does that fill for you?
So I think one thing I think of, like just being an actor and doing so many hours of TV over the years, we've seen different directors come in and out.
Right.
And some of them succeed and some of them don't. And why? Right. When on Rizzoli, we had some women, mostly men. A lot of times the women didn't come back. They were asked once and not returned. Why? Like, it was a weird thing. Like here you have this pretty female-centric show, and it was really hard. I just didn't understand. And then I started to see reasons for it. Some of it was that you have an all-male crew, and they don't want to be bossed around by, a woman. Or a woman comes in, and the way they boss them around just doesn't sit right. It was true. I mean, this is how it was, a boys' club. And so all of a sudden, I also felt as an actor, I'd be super frustrated with some directors that did not understand our characters, hadn't really watched the show, weren't prepared. And that was insulting to me.
Yes.
Super insulting to me. Like, don't come on our show and not know what we do every single day, year after year. Watch some episodes, come in with a fresh idea, help me be better in this scene by coming in with something. And even if that's just your energy, like, love us. We're here in front of the camera every day. Love us. And I just didn't feel that from a lot of people. And the ones that I did, I thought were extraordinary. And I loved them. And we loved working with them. And I knew when they would show up, whether Dennis Smith, big NCIS director, that he came in with love. He always comes in with love and light, and he always comes in with the hey, and you just knew that he had your back. And so whether you're tired or whether the scene isn't working in some way, you knew that he was going to find something in it to make sure that you were covered, that you looked great, that you were great. And so all of a sudden I really felt a desire to be that person and get to do that.
We do a little thing called Game Time.
Okay.
Don't ask why. And today the game is called, Cote, is how well do you know your partner?
Yes, and I think we played this not long ago.
Okay.
So I will ask a question,
okay,
right? You will have a board.
Okay.
You guys will write down the answer.
Okay.
And then once you have your answers, I'll go, okay, share the answer.
Share the answer.
And
how
then
well do you know
you'll
your
see
partner?
how
Okay.
well you
So
know.
I
this
like
is-
that. That's
This
fun.
is how well does Tony DiNozzo remember Caitlin Todd?
To remember Caitlin Todd.
Okay, I like it. So these questions are for Sasha. How well do you know your partner?
Okay.
So get up early or sleep in late?
Okay.
Reveal your answer, please.
Get
Sleep
up
in late.
early.
But that's you on me. And that's me on him. I
No,
wrote what I think he would do. Did I mess up?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I'm supposed to do what I would do?
Yes, these are for you.
Oh, no, I did what I would do.
Okay, good.
I'm
So
sleeping
sleep in late. Did you
I
understand
thought she
that
would
to
get
be?
up early.
Okay, great. So we understood the game. Good.
I did not know my partner well.
Nope.
All right, next question.
Definitely
Forest,
sleeping late. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
mountains, or desert?
Forest, mountains, or desert?
Can I put another one in there just for fun? Forest, mountains, desert, ocean. Reveal your answers, please.
Ocean.
Oh,
Okay, I knew that.
nice.
I love it.
Although, what would it have been if it was forest, mountain, desert?
Mountains.
Okay, interesting.
Would you have said mountains too?
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I recently realized that forests kind of freaked me out because I didn't grow up on the East Coast, and I was driving through Maine, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a different sort of thing to be amongst trees, and like I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm more used to desert
And
California
mountains.
and mountains.
I love mountains.
I love mountains.
They're great. Who is the greatest athlete of all time?
Oh, come on. Just
Oh, sorry.
come on.
I know. What am I
You better
thinking?
get this right.
I know. I'm like, first of all,
How well do you know your partner?
Novak Djokovic.
Of course.
All right. This
Okay,
is,
and this
You'd
is
be
the
in
last
trouble
one for
at home.
Sasha.
I know
It's
that. I mean, how could I
Novak.
not say Novak? Nole.
If you were an animal, what would it be? Oh,
Maybe this, but this isn't. There's another one. I mean, okay.
A cat.
Oh, a monkey.
oh.
The other one
one.
is, do you guys remember?
I drew
That's
you
so
as a cat. There.
That's so fun. I like your drawing. Thank you. What is that animal that don't give a shit?
Oh yes.
Oh, the
honey badger.
honey
The
badger.
honey badger. So on Brazilian Isles, they called me the honey badger. Because
Honey badger
because
don't care.
Honey badger don't care because things would be going on like completely crazy chaos, and I would be like, and I would
Honey
just stay
badger.
there because I had so much medical dialogue to memorize every day. It was so difficult that if I didn't stay in the zone of that moment,
That's the hard part of
I
the
You
would
corner.
lose it.
Your brain would delete
and
it.
so I literally could not be present for everything else that was going on.
Right.
So I wasn't let's say, the most fun person to work with because I would have to say to everybody, sometimes I'm so in my head of just getting through it because if not, we're going to be here all day.
Right.
And if not, I'm going to get it in 1 or 2 takes and we're out.
Yeah, you have
But
to
if
talk
I
about
don't stay in
necrotizing
that zone,
fasciitis
it
and all that
was so
stuff. Yeah,
hard.
okay.
And so I would have to stay in that moment. So I was called the honey badger was my nickname.
I love it.
honey badger. That's a
Honey
good one. We had a
badger.
lot of
And
honey
double
badger
rainbow.
Double rainbow all the
All the
way.
way.
Questions for Michael.
Okay.
Would you
Okay.
rather go 20 years back in time or 20 years into the future?
Okay.
Reveal your answers.
20 years
Back.
future. Oh, I thought you would like to go in the future.
No, I thought it'd be fun for you and me to talk again about, like, we'd be in 2023. Now we're in 2003. We'd be like, hey, we're going to do the pilot of...
Oh, yeah, we could do that. I guess I was thinking it more like existentially in terms of like if you could go back, like Michael, would not want to go back to being 20 because you don't have all the wisdom and knowledge and all the experience that you have today. Like, I feel like there's
Right.
a part of you
Right.
that like, as you were always a person, even like when we worked together, remember you thinking ahead, like when I'm this age, I want this much money in the bank and I'd like to have this and I'd like to have that. So you had this
That's
kind
true.
of plan, which I wasn't as structured about things like that. I was
Yeah.
a bit more like, loosey-goosey about it,
Oh,
even though I
yeah.
wanted those things, but you had
No, I have a plan
and you have a
called
plan. So part of
55
me
to
feel-
75 right now,
Oh.
weirdly. Like, I have
Can we
a
talk
20...
about that? I need a plan.
I have a
need my next
55 to
plan.
75, and I've just hired this company
What?
to help me execute this plan.
Okay, Michael, I need this number. We need to talk about
Yeah.
this afterwards.
It's really
The
funny.
55 to 75.
The
No,
55
this
to
is real.
75, but it's putting together all the pieces because, and this was part of, like, it came out of the therapeutic thing, and my brother passed away and all these different
Yes,
things
I'm
happened.
sorry.
And I was like, oh, I have a plan.
By the way, we had a year that was called the Year of Forgiveness.
Oh, yes. Compassion.
And the Year of Compassion, and which was, I think, 2005.
2005, 6,
Yeah,
yeah.
2005, 6. So I made a plan, and I followed through. Remember, we talked about it, and you brought it back up again, oh, God, a couple of years ago, and you sort of laughed about it, and then you went through a lot of things, and you sort of revisited that in a different way, and you said,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, do you remember the Year of Compassion? And it was about a family thing for me. It was like, I'm going to commit to doing this.
And me
by the
too,
way,
yeah.
and I did it.
Oh, wow, good
Yeah.
for you.
I did it. And that was the thing, that you did it, but you did it later.
Yes.
Remember? So you went around to your Year of Compassion, but it was like
It was delayed.
18 years later.
Yeah.
You know? So We've had your, 55 to 75 is
I
a
like
good
it.
thing.
I want to
It's
hear
a
more
good
about
one. We'll
that.
talk about it.
What's your dream car?
Oh, that's
Oh, I know this.
I don't know. I don't know his dream
Well, just
car.
think of the movies and just say the character.
like
the
a-
character drives a car. Because
Yeah.
if you say that character's
Yeah,
car,
you're like,
everyone
it's
will know.
too easy.
Okay.
Oh, of course it should have been an Aston Martin. I put an Alfa Romeo. Of course it should be an Aston Martin. I can't believe I got that wrong.
Okay, this one's going to be kind of a
Of
funny,
course it's an Aston Martin. Of
funny
course.
question.
And I won't get
Through
myself
the hills of Italy.
I won't get myself an Aston Martin because until I really deserve it. I'm
When
like,
do you think that's going to be?
Yeah,
Part of the
you're too
55,
hard on
75 plan?
yourself. Yeah,
well, no, I
that's
mean,
part of the.
because I like to have that one thing that I won't give myself. Because my God, because I've given myself lots of treats, but that one, oh, I mean, a bottle of Chateau Neuf de Pape, we're going to have that treat.
That's
Okay.
funny.
This is a weird
What's your
question.
favorite red wine? Weirdly,
No,
I just
what's
answered
your
it. Oh,
best rapper of all time?
rapper. Oh, that's easy.
It is?
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, show your answers, please.
LL Cool J.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
Because
I love
that's
it.
LL.
Tupac, but LL Cool J is great.
Todd Smith. The ladies love Cool James.
Yes.
Love.
Ladies love.
Tupac.
Tupac Shakur.
Tupac.
Question,
But it's LL
Before-
Cool J is really the best.
yeah. Clowns or mimes?
Mimes.
Oh!
Clowns are creepy.
Oh, that's cool.
Creepy. Yes, I could see you doing that. It's
I mean, I know I'm clownish. I know
Clowny.
I have clown
Clownish.
vibes, but I find clowns spooky.
they can be.
And I don't ever really find clowns. I mean, clown car is, I think, something we used to say on NCIS. We used to maybe the dolly when Johnny O'Grady and everyone was
they
all
would
loaded.
all be on the clown
They had
car. Yeah,
they
it
had
is a clown car.
They had A and B camera.
Yeah.
with, John Kunkel and George, and you had Johnny O'Grady, and then you had the focus pullers. So you had Bitsakos, and you had everyone all on the dolly.
Yeah.
And it was the clown car. You're like, how
so
many people
funny.
can you fit on this stupid thing?
Clown car. Games are over. Those were the games.
Oh, fun.
Well, this, I have to say, was a trip down memory lane, but also it was a good hang. Next time, let's do it with a bottle of champagne.
Okay, I'm in.
Who knows? Maybe in Europe.
I'm
And
in.
yes. Oh, yes. Sasha, thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
for
and
coming.
Guys,
playing
it was
with
so
us.
good to see you.
And
so good to catch up.
we are going to do this with maybe without the cameras and microphones and maybe a little mimosa somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Let's do that.
When
You-
she's not having her cold.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what I have to do right now?
We have to pee-pee.
I have to
Pee-pee
pee
so badly.
Okay,
Go.
good. Let's go urinate.
Go, kids!
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was pretty cool.
Memory lane.
Memory lane.
What an extraordinary lady, Sasha Alexander.
Better known as Smush.
Smush. Dancer, actress, director, producer, super mom, super friend, and super stylish. Did you see those fishnet socks?
Yes. Very cute.
All right. What's next?
So we're going into our next section called Fan Questions. And if you have any fan questions, please write to offduty@spotify.com.
Are you saying...
That all fans can actually...
Oh, I thought you just meant me. If
No,
I had
no,
a question
no, Michael.
that I
If-
could
if
send
all-
an email to offduty@spotify.com. You're saying
If-
anyone
Anyone.
can send
Anyone.
an email to offduty@spotify.com?
Yes, sir.
What about a text?
Yes, sir.
Can you
I don't
text?
think so.
Does that work?
I don't think so.
Well, they should figure out how to do that because I don't really look at my emails. I get so much spam. I prefer the texting because I don't get a lot of spams on my text.
We'll leave that to the producers. Maybe they'll do something.
Okay,
like
let's go into fan questions. So this one is for you, Cote. Hey guys, big fan. My question is, Ziva had some epic fight scenes on the show. How much training did you undergo to prepare for those action-packed moments?
Ooh, believe it or not, I didn't have a lot of training at all.
Just a
Because,
turbulent childhood.
No. Actually, they would give me a couple of hours in between scenes. Sometimes it was like lunch break or whatever they could carve out because we were quite busy. And they would bring a fight coordinator and I would do the scene a couple of times. Thank God I came from a dance background, even if I wasn't a very good dancer. So, and the great thing was that because I knew what dancing was, or at least I thought I knew what dancing was. I could pick up movement, and because I knew that fighting wasn't supposed to be perfect, I could do it and I could retain it, and it was pretty
very, very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, your gun face notwithstanding, your fight stance and the way, I have to say, I
embraced it because I really just loved the character.
I fought on the soap opera. I had to do fight scenes on so many different things, Dark Angel and NCIS, and I did a movie called Charlie Valentine where I kept like I think they kill me. I was terrible every single time. I am very unconvincing in every fight scene I've ever been in because
Well, but yes and no. I don't think you give yourself credit.
No,
enough.
I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at.
What are you good at?
I am good at, well, depends which period of time, but during the NCIS period of time, I was good at finding the space in a scene and making it very much different and very kind of, I could make something unusual and fearlessly jump off the cliff and be irreverent. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it went splat, but I was not afraid of the splat. I was all my chips to the middle of the table. I played for keeps, and that I was good at. And other things not so good at. Maybe like being, able to emotionally connect without laughing. That was very hard for a long time. We'll talk about that on another episode. Okay, are you going to ask me a question?
I am. So,
see how I got uncomfortable and I had to go on to the next segment?
And you laughed a little bit and then you moved on.
Yeah.
Tony had a habit of giving everyone on the team nicknames. What would Tony's nickname be for Michael in real life?
Ooh. If DiNozzo met me now, he would say, hey, skinny fat, get over here. Or maybe he would say, old fat Chris Pine. I don't know. What would DiNozzo, because that's a movie reference is the only reason I was saying. You know what he'd call you if you met Cote DePaula?
Oh, gosh.
He'd say, hey, Wonder Woman.
I do fear thee.
Yeah, he would call you Wonder Woman.
Oh, come
He would have a deep crush.
Oh, God. Yeah. Did Sasha play her own corpse, or did they use a prosthetic model?
They did not use a prosthetic. Sasha came back for those 2 episodes and was so amazing. First of all, so generous and so game and open to play like the Catholic girl outfit where DiNozzo's fantasizing about her right before DiNozzo meets Ziva David. You've got the sort of S&M bondage version of Sasha. You've got it's just a perfect thing. And she is on the table with a bullet in her head talking to Gibbs. And then in the squad room talking to Gibbs. And like she was right there. And I think as an actor, what a fun thing to do, to play.
But you forget she was also transitioning out of something that was really important to her.
Yes.
And, and probably dealing with some challenging feelings.
And also an interesting depiction of it's because she's not a ghost. She's each character's projection of her as
lives in the character's imagination.
As they kind of are coping and managing the grief of her death. Mm-hmm. And each one does it in their own special way. And it's really interesting the way Gibbs sees her as critical. She is talking to Gibbs in a that's Gibbs' voice that you're hearing. Like Gibbs, that's not Kate talking. So it's really great because it gives depth to each character. And it gives us a little kinky look behind Proby's mask. We're like, Pat Proby's got a wild sexual kind of fantasy life, doesn't he?
Oh, and she looks so good in that costume.
Okay.
I remember thinking, oh, my God, she looks great.
Sorry, I know. I went into an uncomfortable area.
Yes. Hey.
Hey. Yes, you did make me uncomfortable somewhat.
No,
yes, I am
not
going
at
to
all. Gibbs rule.
Are we going to do the Gibbs rule?
Yeah.
This is
folks.
a scrumptious section.
It's time for the segment you've all been asking for. where we get to absorb some sage wisdom from the man, the myth, the legend, Leroy Jethro Gibbs. It's time for the Gibbs rule of the day.
Now,
are you ready for this, Michelle?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, this one's one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
This one's one of the ones that I actually know.
Okay.
Like, I've heard this one.
All right, ask.
Gibbs rule of the day. Rule number 9.
Never go anywhere without a knife.
Oh, you read it.
No, I have a T-shirt that says Gibbs rule number 9, never go anywhere without a knife.
This is one of the only ones that I remember. And this is funny because I think my character had knives all the time. So it was one of the ones that I was like, ooh, that pertains to me.
Cote, where can I watch NCIS?
You can watch NCIS on Paramount Plus and CBS.
Next week on Off Duty.
Can I read this one?
Please do.
Okay.
Are you going to do it in one breath?
I'm going to try and do it in one breath.
Oh, God.
Finally, what you've all been waiting for. I, me, Michael, Tony DiNozzo in the flesh, take over the reins as the main host of the show. Cote, myself, and a very mysterious mystery guest or two play games, walk down memory lane, and discuss the epic conclusion to the Ari Haswari arc. It's Kill Ari Part 2, and you don't want to miss it. Foof!